Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you, and thank you for joining us here on this, another episode of our Family Empowerment Discussion. I am Corporal Kester Fennell, and I am your host. And we do apologize for the delay in starting. We do, however, thank you for your patience and for always joining us. Now, this evening, we will be looking at the topic of children and substance abuse. And for those of you who have been joining us on a monthly basis when we host our virtual program, you will recognize and understand that we try to discuss topics here that are aimed at educating you, our citizens, as well as providing necessary information about agencies that exist that can help with issues that we face on a daily basis. And to begin, we're going to ask Pastor Paul Mason, who one of the members of the Spanish Town Ministers Fraternal, to open for us in prayer. Pastor Mason, it's over.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Corporal Fennell. It's good to be on. I want to thank you for giving us the invitation. And let me just greet the chairman of the Spanish Town Ministers Fraternal, who is also on, Reverend Yvette Harriet. And to all the personnel and the people of God, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. Let us pray. Our Father, we just want to bless you at this time, Lord. We want to acknowledge and declare that you are God all by yourself. We praise you because you are good and your mercy endures forever, Lord. Thank you for being so merciful to us. Thank you for giving another day to us, Lord God, so we could be gathered together in this fashion. Lord, we want to thank you for this meeting that has been convened. We want to thank you, Lord, for the St. Catherine North Police and particularly the Community Safety and Security Branch. We want to thank you, Lord, for the vision that you have given to them, and they are certainly running with it. Lord, we want to ask that you continue to give them the resources, Lord, to continue this initiative, to disseminate information, Lord, and to instruct us and certainly to inspire us, Lord, so we can take the appropriate action that will result, Lord, and particularly for the matter at hand, we can care for our children and certainly protect our children who have become an endangered species. Lord, help our children. Lord, save our children. Help us to understand, Lord, that it is through us that this must be done. And so I want to thank you for this initiative at this time. And we pray a blessing on it. Lord, we pray a blessing on our moderator as we go forward, and certainly on the presenters that are lined up to present to us today. Lord, we just commit this into your hand as an offering and as a sacrifice of a sweet savor. As it comes up, Lord, we pray that you'll open your heart and your hand and pour us out a blessing. There'll not be room to receive it. And certainly, Lord, that when we leave, we'll be inspired to take some actions, Lord, for the good of the children of our nation, and by extension, our nation. And we thank you for it. We declare it done in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. And amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you once again, Pastor Mason. And a special welcome to Reverend Yvette Harriet, who is the president, or the chairman rather, of the Spanish Town Ministers Fraternal. And I want to say a special welcome to all the persons who are joining us online. We have persons from various institutions in St. Catherine. We have justices of the peace. We have persons from even other parishes as well who are joining us. And we want to say thank you and welcome to the Family Empowerment Discussion, where we educate the family. Let me just inform you as well that we are currently live on YouTube, and you can share that information with persons so that even after the program has concluded, persons will be able to actually go back and view our discussion here, as well as previous discussions that we have had on YouTube. So they can go and look up CSSB North, that is CSSB North, and they will be able to view our videos. They can also like and subscribe so that they'll be notified whenever we go live for our videos or whenever videos are uploaded to our channel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this topic that we're about to discuss this evening is one that for us is absolutely important. And why? we have recognized over time that we are seeing more and more young people who are becoming abusers of various substances. We know that there is marijuana that is quite popular within our own culture. We recognize now that they are moving to things like Molly, and some young people are even engaging in the use of cocaine and other harmful substances. And so therefore, we want to discuss this evening some of the impacts that substance abuse has on our children and the vulnerabilities that they will become open to, the responsibilities of parents and other caregivers for our children, schools and other agencies. We want to talk about issues that are affecting our children that can actually lead them into becoming substance abusers. And so with me this evening for this discussion, we have three panelists. And let me see, I believe that Ms. Duhaney has just joined us. So welcome to you, Ms. Duhaney. And our three panelists are as follows. We have Mr. David Gordon, and he is the Substance Abuse Officer for the Parish of St. Catherine with the National Council on Drug Abuse. We have Ms. Jean Duhaney, and she is the St. Catherine Parish Manager for the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA. And we have Mrs. Francine Davidson Miller, and she is a guidance counselor for one of our institutions here in St. Catherine. And we have all three panelists joining us this evening. And I'm going to ask that if you're able to, you can please turn on your cameras so that all the persons on our platform can see who it is that they are engaging with this evening. Yes, we have one wonderful gentleman over there and two beautiful ladies that are going to be having this discussion with us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that this discussion is an open discussion. So whilst we're going to be talking about different things, if you have a question, please feel free to either type it in the chat or you can use the raise hand feature where you will be acknowledged that you'll be allowed to ask your question. So as we go throughout this program, please feel free to join in the discussion, because guess what? We don't only have information to provide to you, we are also here to learn from you so that at the end of the day, we can all benefit from this discussion. And please, whilst you're at it, share the link with someone so that they can join and be edified as well. So here we go. So first of all, let me begin with you, Mr. Gordon. Can you just go ahead and introduce yourself to our platform and what your agency, the National Council on Drug Abuse, does? Can everyone hear me? I see someone typed in the chat that they are unable to hear anything. I'm not sure if it's an issue with your device. Maybe you want to check your device, check the audio settings for your device. Okay, Trudy? Right, so Mr. Gordon, over to you. You're muted, Mr. Gordon.
Right, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right, wonderful. Good day. As you know, my name is David Gordon, Substance Abuse Officer with the National Council on Drug Abuse, and responsible for the parish of St. Catherine. And so what happened is that, you know, there's a lot going on with our children, you know. I see them regularly coming in, you know, for smoking ganja, you know, for vaping, you know, yeah. So and some of them are, you know, will also have alcohol, you know, in the mix. So the thing is that we see them coming in, and they are referred to us, from various agencies, So the thing is that we at the National Council on Drug Abuse, I want to throw out our numbers from early. Number is 926-9002. That's 926-9002 to 4. Right. That's 926-9002 to 4. Right. So persons can call us confidential, and you don't have to cry alone, because it's not you alone in this situation. And the National Council on Drug Abuse, is here and we here. Right. Now, looking at a research that was done in 2021, the focus group, Spiritual Voices of the Youth Forum. And this was done by the National Council on Drug Abuse. And, the youngsters, showing that the youngsters are using, especially, Mali, ecstasy, right? They are, what we call, having pills party, right? And, what the youngsters are saying out of these focus groups that we do right across the island, something that comes out is that they don't have anybody whom they can share their feelings with. They have issues that they want to talk about, but they are afraid to talk about it because they don't want their business to be spread in the community, so to speak. So they keep it to themselves. And, even up to recently, a young man says, well, there are several things happening with him and he's just not ready to share it yet. And I'm trying to explain to him that adults have gone through similar things that you are going through. Just take a chance, talk to somebody, take a chance, share it because, we have caring adults around, Yeah, so there's a trust factor that is really with the youngsters, and we need to find a way for them to express themselves and express their feelings. I see we are, difficulties faced by adolescents, lack of opportunities to express their feelings, Yeah, we need to listen to them. I know parents like to say, you're not listening to me, but parents need to sometimes understand that, let them talk, let them share. And we know that parents might be afraid of some of the things that they are going to say, and but they need to talk. They need someone to listen to them. Hopelessness, right? Fear, of the academic failure, and so forth. And we see also, they are afraid of isolation, So, they tend to come under peer pressure, group pressure to conform to the group norms. So if the friends are drinking and smoking, they don't want to look different. So they get involved, just to look cool and be a part of it, So we see where there are a lot going on for the youngsters and mental health issue, anxieties, depression, having a reason. And I realize the youngsters are feeling frustrated. They don't see any way out. Yeah, after zeroing on one recently, because you just feel like give up on life. And I'm saying, hey, no, don't, no, dear, talk to me. You understand? Yeah, so there are real issues facing the youngsters and they don't see any way out, we'll see there, and we talk about Mali, where these youngsters, and I know the last time I checked on this, Mali, which is ecstasy, is that it was $3,000 for one of these small pills, which look like, candy, they have various colors, pink, blue, and they look so nice, like tablets. But it's $3,000. And, one youngster during the research would say that, sir, tell the truth. You know a young lady, and she's almost 17 yet, and before she go to the party, she take 2 Molly. And when she reach at the party, she take another 2 Molly. So if it's, and I'm saying to myself, then if it's $3,000 for a tablet, then how she finds so much money? And somebody says, one youngster says, sir, I know she finance it, or the big man and the Benz finance it, because it puts them in various moods, and so they can have sex with them later, So we have to be careful, and when I talk with the youngsters, we have to be careful also, and to let them know that if they are socializing, right, and they have to leave their drinks, It's either when they come, they take the drink with them, or when they come back, they don't, continue to drink, But they have to be smart and protect themselves, And the musicians are also, influential. And, they say that, and I'm going to call name, right? They say that the musicians like us, King, are promote these drug use, and so the DJs, and so the little ones are catching on because they want to be popular and associated with these popular figures, DJs, and they need to be responsible. And I'm saying to them, the DJs, be responsible. I'm sure they can sing, a lot of songs, I know DJs have sing a lot of songs with songs like book, pressure on a book, and all those songs, I know Stitchy used to sing a song, say, 206 bones make up the structure, the heart plumb blood into all area to regulate the concentration, the salt food matter, know about your body, so there are educational songs out there. They have to, carry it to the extreme where they have to be responsible. That's what I'm saying. So in a nutshell, I just let the parents also know that they don't have to cry alone. Parents, let me put it this way, is that, how should I put this now, is that there are some things that you need to do as parents, How should I put it now? Asking for help is a sign of strength, and not a sign of weakness, as one psychiatrist says. Asking for help is a sign of strength, So we alone can't do it, And parents need to get involved in the children's life, because the more they get involved, is the more they can pick up things quickly. I say this to the parents that I was talking with some young ladies, and I'm saying to them, sir, the parents, the parents, and the stress out the parents, and they say that the young people, they said to me, the parents stress me out too, right? I asked the young people, should the parents search your phones? They said, no, the parents need to trust us. And then when I asked the parents that question, one lady said, when she did smart, she did bad. So she got up and down in her son's phone, right? So the thing is, we are parents first and friends second, So the thing is, we have to try and communicate with the children more, talk with them, fast into their business, and try to talk about drug abuse with them also, Yeah, we have to have that communication. There's a protective factor against drug use, and that one, I'm hasten to mention it is strong church bond, strong school and church bond. Okay, the parents need to form that bond with the school and with the church. It's a strong protective factor against drug use. And for the youngsters, right, you don't only go to school to learn to read and write. You need to get involved in other activities at the school, like sports, drama, you know, whatever clubs there, 4-H, substance abuse clubs, get involved in these activities. You go a far way in preventing persons from using drugs. There's a thing that says, right, so they need to get involved with those faith-based activities. And talk with the children, talk with them about issues that are affecting them, because they need, sometimes they don't talk about what is affecting them, but once we get involved and talk, hey, we go a far way in helping them. Why parents need to get involved? It improves better academic performance with the children. It improves the children's self-esteem, right? Children learn to accept self, right? There's less suicide, prevent mental illness, and for certain it prevents drug use also, right? So parents need to get involved, help the children to encourage the children to express themselves, don't shut them down, right? Yeah. So, and the brain, well, later on we can go that the children's brain, they are, vulnerable, and the brain is not fully developed until around age 20. So we don't want the youngsters to be putting anything inside their brain that is going to affect their brain. Okay? Yeah. I know smoking ganja can mad people also.
That's
right? The research has shown, right? So we don't want the youngsters to take over the brain. And I love them. They are our future, right? And I want a real good future. All right. So thank you very much. I'll pause for now.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Gordon. You gave us quite a bit of information there to get us started off in the right direction. And I'm sure that out of all that you have just said, that, persons on the platform must have taken something out of it. I know that I certainly did. One of the things that stood out for me that you made mention of, and I think we can touch on it a little bit more later on, is that trust factor with our young people. Ms. Duhaney, so it's over to you. Good evening again. So go ahead and tell the persons on our platform a little bit about yourself and your institution, the CPFSA.
Good evening, fellow panelists. To you, Corporal Fennell, and the audience, viewing public. I am Jean Duhaney, a team leader with the CPFSA. I have been in the system for a little while. Our agency is an executive agency, falls under the parent ministry of Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. We are in the 14 parishes of Jamaica. One of the things about the agency, our mandate seeks to ensure that the safety and well-being, right, of our nation's children are safeguarded. And so our role in child protection is one that seeks to ensure that we advocate, that we represent, that we, provide programs necessary to ensure that the full gamut of our children's well-being is protected. So we, as an organization, we do a number of things. I want to just to clear the atmosphere. There's a mindset among persons that CPFSA, all we do is take away people's children. I want to say that's far from the truth. as an organization, we intervene once we get reports or concerned citizens would call us up, or school, because we work closely with some institutions, the school, the police, and so forth. But as an organization, we provide various services. A lot of persons don't know the services we offer. So I just want to share that quickly. We are that organization that seeks to take the reports. So some time ago, we used to hear about Office of the Children's Registry. So we are no longer two separate entities. We are one organization now, and it's no longer the OCR, but National Children's Registry. So that is the first point of entry in our organization. The NCR is a repository that takes all reports that comes to us, whether a person may walk in or it's something that they may WhatsApp, email, whatever medium. So they are the ones who would first take that report. Upon assessing, they will dissect, and wherever they, based on their assessment, the reports are sent to different branches of the organization. So the next point would be investigation. We do have a robust investigation unit in our organization. So they would go out to ensure that the reports that we would have received are verified. Where it is found that a child is at risk or is being abused, then we get involved. If it's a matter that they don't necessarily need to be removed, but they are lacking basic support, right, we link them with the necessary stakeholder organization. We have programs such as the adoption services, right? We provide counseling support. We have a psychology unit that provides support for our wards of the state and some other clients within our institutions. We also we work closely with the family, because while we work with the children, it is critical that we work with the family. So we have a program that is called the Child and Family Support Unit. And so that unit works to deter children entering state care. And I am purposeful tonight in leaving institutional care for last, because we do not promote. We believe, as the Child Care and Protection Act promotes, that the family is the basic unit. And so we thrive to have our children remain in family-based program. Hence, we have foster care, we have adoption, we have other programs like supervision order. These are programs where children end up before the court. For example, foster care, it's a temporary program where a child is not able to remain with their biological family. And so whether family or stranger will take this child in. They go before the court. It's a court process. And upon assessment and so forth, the judge makes the final decision. We have adoption, which it is a legal process, and that is very final. So what it means, and once a child enters the adoption process, somebody comes in would want to adopt this child, it's a final process in the court. So many things change about that child. Child loses his or her biological name to the name of the adopter and other stuff. But this person now assumes the role of parent. So those are some of the programs that we have. We have many, many more. We have institutional care. We have a dynamic program where we seek not to just leave our children hanging, because we have children who would have entered the state care, are excelling, doing exceptionally well, but they can't go back home in the immediate. So some would have gone to colleges, some would have gone to skills-based programs and need support. And so our organization provides that support. We'll talk a little more about that if I am privileged to, but I was just told to introduce myself. There's so much about my organization I just want to share with the public. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Haney. And I think one of these days we might just dedicate a program to the CPFSA so that you can educate all of our viewers about the CPFSA and clear the air on any misconceptions that might be hanging out there.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much, Mr. Haney. So now it's over to Miss Francine Davidson Miller. And she is a guidance counselor here in the St. Catherine North Division. She is currently assigned to the St. Catherine Primary School. Miss Miller, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, and good evening, everyone.
Right. So go ahead and just tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Okay, as you said, I'm Francine Davidson Miller, guidance counselor, also a justice of the peace. I work with children between the ages of 6 through 12. Unfortunately, I am seeing that children as young as 6 are victims of substance abuse. And while it is heart-rending, what is even worse is that most of them have been introduced to this by their parents. So as a guidance counselor, and I can speak for other guidance counselors, my job and our job is that much harder because as Mr. Gordon highlighted when he, in his opening sentences, as he highlighted that when you take drugs, it messes with your mental state, it messes with your brain. You're not able to learn, you're not able to focus, you can't sit still for long hours. And these are all requirements teachers need to teach children. Children need a healthy brain to learn. So I find that, especially since COVID, I've been having a lot of children coming to me who I have to see because they have mental problems that seems like a mental health problem. But when I trace it, it goes right back to substance abuse, whether it be vaping, drinking ganja tea, taking alcohol, whatever. And it's heart-rending, and I'm happy that you have this program here so that parents can maybe get some tidbits as to how to cite or how to recognize when their children are on drugs and how to deal with it as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much to our panelists for doing that introduction. And you know, you kicked off the discussion for us, Miss Miller, because one of the questions that I have to ask is, you know, the typical age that children begin to experiment. And I know that you indicated earlier that as young as 6 years old, you are seeing children that are actually substance abusers. But I don't know if Mr. Gordon, based on his experience and through his agency, could indicate for us what the typical age range is for children that are substance abusers. Mr. Gordon?
Yes, I'm
Right.
here. I know the research would say is that they start from age 13, right? But I've seen from personally comes in like age 5, 6 years old.
5.
Yes,
Wow.
and actually, these from youngsters have been given the drug by adults. You know, there was one on the internet where they're giving the child must have weed or cigarette like that, and you know, it came to the CP FSA's attention, and so they were referred for counseling some years ago, right? So we see, you know, 5. But the thing is that there's a research that was done in 1997, where it says that youngsters were introduced to drugs from in the home. Their early socializing, early introduction to drugs is through the home. Are your birthday boy, take a drink. Send the children to go and buy the cigarette. Understand? So we have to let the parents know that, hey, you know, this is not on. You know, this is not on. Yeah. So yeah, in short, that's what I'm seeing.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Gordon. But you know, what was shocking for me just now is when you indicated that you were seeing children as young as 5 years old coming in for substance abuse, as in they are the ones who are ingesting these substances. But you know, you also touched on something else that I believe is absolutely important for us to stress on a little bit more, and is the introduction of these substances by members of the household to children. I've seen over the years where parents have been guilty of sending their children to purchase certain things from various places that sell them, whether it be the ganja, the cigarette, the alcohol. They have sent their children to purchase these things from various places. So if it is that the child is going to purchase it for their own use, how would this individual know that it's not the parent who sent the child, but that it's the child that is now purchasing it for themselves? Not only that, what lesson are they teaching the children when they send the children to purchase these items? You know, and what about the legal ramifications about actually selling these substances to children? That is also something that we need to look at. You know, but I know you had given started naming a few substances earlier, but could you just go ahead and tell us some of the common substances that children experiment with?
I can tell you, smoking, you know, whether it's ganja or cigarette, vaping is another one, right? Yes. So smoking, ganja or cigarette and vaping, right? And well, that's for children, but as we get up a little further up in the age, then the adolescent teenagers tend to, you know, experiment with Molly, so to speak, ecstasy. Yeah. So that's what I'm seeing also.
So you're saying that the smoking, the vaping, the Molly, and the ganja, as well as the alcohol.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So these are, for us here in Jamaica, these are primarily the substances that we're seeing amongst our young people. But I believe that there are other cases too where children have even gone and used what we might consider to be harder drugs. For example, cocaine in some instances. But that is not so popular amongst our young people based on your experience and what you have actually been seeing.
That's correct. What happens is that it's less than 2% of the you know, less than 2% of the society uses crack cocaine, you know. So but for the younger set also, more the smoking and the alcohol drinking.
All right, thank you. So Miss Miller, tell us for what you have been seeing from your end, what are the substances that your experience has taught you that the young children that you deal with have been engaging in?
Vaping.
Vaping.
I've seen a child in grade 3. Someone took a clay, I don't know what they call them. I'm gonna call it a pipe. But I was told that they put the ganja in it and inhale the ganja from it. He told me that he got it from his 15-year-old brother who is going to a high school in St. Catherine as well, in the Spanish Town area. And he and his brother uses it. Also a grade 5 child. When I called the parent, what was astonishing, when I called the parent, she said that she sent him to buy one for her. And he bought one for himself as well. So she knew about it and did nothing. And I think, remember, I called you on that one. So
Yes.
vaping is a common one. Alcohol. So they'll start with the what I call the candy drink, like the ice, Smirnoff Ice, the beer that has the different flavors. And some are drinking the beer. So they start from there and gradually, of course, they'll get stronger drink because they have gotten used to these two things. Going to the shop, I know you asked a question to Mr. Gordon, but you find a lot of children who say their parents send them to the shop to buy. And when they come back, they share whatever they buy. And it's not just cigarette, they send them to buy weed as well. And they share in the smoke with them. They share in the drink with them. And these shopkeepers, I don't know if it's to make money, but these shopkeepers, they sell them because whether they know it's the children using it or the parents want it, they don't care. They sell it to them. I asked the mother where she sent the young man to buy the 10-year-old to buy the vape. She said at a wholesale in Spanish Town. So I don't know what we as citizens, as police, teachers, justices of the peace, whatever, what we are doing to protect our children, if we should go into these stores and, say that I have heard that you sold children this and I'm gonna report you to the police station. Don't know what we need, but we need to take a stance, or we are going to stand or we're gonna lose our children.
I do agree with you on that 100%, because if parents are aware that, especially if it is that you're not the kind of parent who engages in certain things and you're aware that a particular place of business or an establishment is selling these things to young people, and you find that your child has no been engaging in it and is able to source it from that establishment, I believe that the right thing to do, the correct thing to do, is to take a stance and to do the necessary, report that establishment to the police so that necessary actions can be taken. Understand, that's one of the things that we want to encourage persons on our platform to do. We wouldn't encourage you to necessarily confront the owners or the operators of these establishments, because you could put yourself in danger. But once the information comes to you, please give it to us, the police, so that we can take the necessary steps and then do what we need to do to protect not just our children, but also our communities in this respect.
And one more thing in the quarter, we have to realize that I have a child at the school as well.
Mm-hmm.
My child will interact with these children. So I may be teaching my child to say no. I may be telling my child that substances abuse is dangerous and can harm him. But peer pressure is sometimes greater than what we can say to our children. So if I can stop one child from vaping, say I'm being selfish, I am protecting my child from being exposed to the behavior and thinking that it is okay for him to follow suit.
That is right. That is right. Because one of the things that we have to understand is that, listen, children have more influence on children than us as adults. And if we can stop other children from engaging in the activity, then it is less likely that they will be able to influence other children to also engage in those activities, right? So I'm looking in the chat and I'm recognizing that some of our members here are actually outlining some creative ways that children are now able to access substances. And I'm seeing Latoya is saying that they are now using ganja pudding and gummies at school and even cookies as well. So yes, thank you very much for sharing this information with us. So these are some other ways that these persons are becoming more creative in issuing these substances to our children and our young people. Mr. Gordon, go ahead.
Yes. Let me just hasten to add to the edibles, the cookies, right, and is that it is dangerous. It is dangerous to put the ganja in food. There's a THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, that is responsible for the hallucination that one gets, right? And so we don't know the grade of THC or the strength of the THC. And so what happens is that because they eat this food, you know, it takes a longer time to feel the effect than when a person smoke it. So what happens is that because person is eating it and after 10, 15 minutes, they don't feel anything. So they just continue having more and more of this substance. But when they start to feel the effect, give them about 40 minutes, they are already overdosed. And so they will have to take the person to doctor, right? So I am saying to persons, be careful, you know, what you consume with ganja in it, you know. And I'm not saying to say that Dr. Mandowes and Dr. Lowe, right, have extracted substances from ganja for medical use, medicinal use and purpose, right? And so the thing is that there are over 500 substances in ganja. Now, the thing is, a lot of them, right, we don't know the good use for them or the use of them. But if you want the one for the eye drops, if you want the one for the asthma, the medication for asthma, you know, if you want for motion sickness, go to the doctor, go to the pharmacy, and they can prescribe the drug for you that is made from ganja. But don't just go and take up the drug like that and smoke it or cook it because you say you want the one out of it. Because you're going to get a whole lot of other substance that is not good for the system. It's irresponsible, right? So I'm hastening to say that as it comes up in the chat, you know, we have to be mindful of this. Ganja can lead to mental illness. Ganja can make a person mad.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Mr. Gordon, for that charge to all of us here on the platform, and you know, that reminder too about the danger of ganja. And you know, we know that it is indeed a medicinal herb, but as you indicated that there are so many different substances in it. You indicated that there are over 500 different substances in it, and each, I am sure, does something different. And that is why it is important that for persons who intend to use marijuana, they have to ensure that they get it from the correct source so that they get what is needed for their intended purpose, right? So in moving on, and thank you, I want to say thank you to Woman Sergeant Mighty. She is actually in charge of the Yuatan police station for sharing the information about those edibles for us. Thank you, Miss Mighty. All right, so what are, go ahead, Mr. Haney.
You move on. I personally have not met a small child that age, but what I see in our practice is a lot of adolescents who have been abusing the substance. I think there's a cultural side to this. A lot of our boys are seen to follow suit, fathers, uncles, general, you know, men in the space and stuff. And so at a tender age, they start being exposed. Person spoke about being sent to the shop. What about those households where it is actually sold within the household? And I remember having a conversation with a parent who brought her son to us, and she couldn't understand when I tried to explain to her the exposure that this boy has had. Because she said, but he used to drink ganja tea and never do us anything, and she defended, you know, and so forth. So, you know, it is also one of the things that these boys are allowed to feel as it's a form of initiation. Yes, you must be able to hold your thing. and so forth. So if we're not careful, as parents, we are basically slowly killing our children. And I would trust that tonight, always talking to the converted, but I trust that somebody tonight will take heed, and as you get information, share the information with others. I also wish that we had some youngsters on the platform. So that's another group that we really want to probably reach out to when you do these kinds of forum, because first, and they need to actually hear some of these things for themselves,
That is it. That is indeed so. That is indeed so. And one of the things that we always encourage persons on the platform to do is to share the information with the whole family. So when it is that you are sitting and watching or you're listening, ensure that if your children are also there sitting and listening and learning as well, because it's for the entire family. What we do here is, it's not PG. It is general for every single person, and so we encourage persons to always have their children listening. And we know too that there are persons who always have their children listening and learning from these programs. So thank you very much for that encouragement as well, Ms. Amy. So, how can parents, somebody made mention earlier about parents talking to children about substance abuse. How can they start the conversation? Mr. Haney, I don't know if you want to take the lead on this one. How can parents start that conversation with children about substance abuse?
All right, so parents can start at, I don't think there's a set age. We need to talk to our children at tender age appropriate. Yes, so they can understand. When we talk about substance, sometimes a lot of times persons only focus on the hard stuff. We have children who are hooked on the nail polish. Yes, it keeps them high, and little things like these. So we have to educate. Education is critical. It has to be an ongoing discussion. It can't be just the school. It can't be just mediums like this. It starts at home. And what are better way to educate our children by our own lifestyle? Best lesson. So the spoken word also goes with the behavior. No longer can we say, do as I say, but not as I do. If we are to teach our children, we need to practice what we also preach, right? And I believe that it is not the role of any other person to be sharing and to be talking to our children. It starts at home, right? So it is critical that we expose our children to information like this. And then as age appropriate, we speak about the harder stuff. All right? That's what I would want to say.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Haney. I don't know. How about you, Miss Miller? Would you like to go ahead and throw your bit in as well?
Sure. As parents, we need to be clear about our rules. Following on what Ms. Duane said, age-appropriate conversation, have rules. Let them know that drugs is dangerous, alcohol is dangerous, substance abuse. You highlight all of them, the glue, the polish, whatever. You're telling that all of these are dangerous, and we let them know that you're not just saying that they shouldn't do it because you're the parent and you want to be boss. Let them know that you love them. You want them to have a prosperous life. You want them to have a life that is filled with happiness, a life where they can go about and do function. Let me use the word function. They can function in society, be useful members of society, and not become a burden to society. So let them understand that it is dangerous and it will rob them of a productive life in the future if they engage in such activity. And because you love them so much and you want them to get the best out of life, you are laying down these rules that drugs or alcohol, drugs, whatever the substance is a no. And as me said, lead by example as well. Lead by example. Because nowadays kids, they'll ask you, then how you are drinking it and you're telling me not to drink it. How you're smoking it and you're telling me not to smoke it. If it's good for you, why isn't it good for me as well? So lead by example as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Haney and Ms. Miller. Mr. Gordon, over to you. Could you just share with some of our parents or some of our persons here online? Because, you know, having a discussion with them is one thing, but for some persons, what I've recognized is that some persons don't see the need to have the conversation about an issue until the issue actually arises. So how can our parents actually identify what are some signs that tell our parents that, listen, maybe there's a possibility that your child is engaging in substance abuse? What are some of the signs to look for?
Some of the obvious signs, you know, is that the child gets extra aggressive, you know, easily become hungry, you know, the child starts staying out late, you know, change of friends, you know, change friends, you know, the child withdrawn, you know, yeah, and the obvious signs that, you know, the eyes look red, you know, yeah. So, you know, it differs, but these are the more prominent ones that jumps out, you know, that parents complain about, not able, rebellious, not able to, you know, and define authorities, you know, yes, and the change of friends that they have also. So basically, these issues tend to come up more as, you know, when it comes to youngsters, you know, using and abusing and misusing drugs. Those are what we see.
Right, thank you. You have any that you want to add to those for us, Ms. Miller?
What I see is that they are depressed, the younger ones, get depressed easily. They have suicidal ideation. So everything that happens, me I go kill myself. And they, as he said, they are aggressive, not very tolerant. I have seen where it's from one extreme to the next. Either they're very depressed or they're kind of hyperactive. They're not focused, cannot focus for long, cannot encode or decode information easily. So it slows down the capacity to learn. These are just some that pops out at me as well from a school perspective.
Understood.
Right.
Understood. All right. What about you, Mr. Haney? Tell me some of the signs that you have identified as, you know, telltale signs for young people that are using substances.
From what my colleagues would have said, some of them would have gone for it. You know, the agitation, easily angered, poor concentration. From those that I would have interacted with, they tend to become very thirsty quite easy, you know, always wanting something to drink or they want to eat. So they're always hungry and they will eat about anything. You know, once they start taking these substances, it's as though they're always hungry, trying to fill a void and stuff like that. As I said that, you know, education and drugs don't work. So even when they were excellent students, you find that they start regressing. And so these are some of the signs that I've come across with some of the students we would have seen.
Right, thank you. And
you know, I know you were asking about starting the conversation with the youngsters. I just want to say that we have programs that we have in the school, you know, and one of them that is called talk the truth, talking the truth about ganja. You know, and that program look at educating the peer leaders or the peer educators about the correct information as it relates to ganja, so that they in turn can have a discussion with their friends and peers. And when they're having a discussion, they can give them the correct information also. So, you know, and that is so interactive, you know, that program is so interactive and interesting. You know, it stimulates the discussion. It's amazing to see how, you know, they get engaged and start to talk about, you know, these things. So that is one way of us, you know, trying to engage the youngsters. And I tell you, we engage in the parents also.
Mhm.
Because the parents, you know, you can fix them at school and then they go home, the parents fix them back. Because we understand that they can't go home, but tell the parents, say, well, sir, say I'm on the age and I'm not going to buy anything at the shop. You know, they will say, it's who's house, you know. Yeah? Yeah? It's who's the parent inside here. So, you know, we know how to talk to the parents. And let me tell you, some parents just don't know that it is illegal to send the children to go and purchase these things. We have to spell it out clearly like that. Some seem very surprised to hear. Because the kids say, we don't have a problem, go and buy these things. We get it. Right? So we have to constantly be talking about it,
Thank you so much, Mr. Gordon. And you know, I just want to add a little bit on a physical note, a physical change that persons can look for, parents can look for, especially in our young people. Once they start to smoke, especially ganja, you know, the eyes begin to change color. You know, Mr. Gordon spoke about the eyes being red. But I want to tell you too that after a while, they start to change to a yellowish brownish color. So that's one of the things you can look for too. You can look at the fingertips. The fingertips are going to change. One of the things that ganja does is that the chemical inside of ganja tends to change the color of your fingers because of the cutting up of the ganja. So it tends to change the color or creates a discoloration on the fingers as well. So these are some things that you can look out for as well to determine whether or not your child is using ganja. All right, so that's just one of the physical things that we have used as police officers to identify easily when we are encountering a youngster that is actually a user of ganja. All right, now we did touch a little bit on peer pressure, and I saw someone also mention it in the chat, but peer pressure in children and substance abuse. Mr. Haney, tell me, just how much does peer pressure, how much of a role does peer pressure play in children and substance abuse?
Peer pressure plays a great role. The reality of it is that our children thrive on friendship.
Right.
They desire acceptance and love and warmth, and with peers, there's no boundary, there's no deterrent to say, you know, typically for a lot of our children today, it's sad to say, but it's a reality, the children that we do engage a lot of times, the home becomes a battlefield. There is that kind of tension and rift and stress and all of that. So in their peers, they look for just about everything. So can you imagine a peer who is misinformed, a peer who is also needing guidance and support? When those youngsters come together, lack of guidance, direction, support can be a danger. But they offer what they have. the acceptance and the love, right? I wish that parents could understand. I often say to parents that children will do stuff that children will do because they mimic parents, they mimic the society, they mimic those around them in their community space. I believe that if we as parents decide to really help our children, and we're talking about substance abuse, which is just one of the many, many issues.
Right.
Get to love and get to know the peers that our children associate with. Take time out to invest in that boy, that girl, that my daughter or son spends quality time and yearn for. Then a lot of our problems, don't tell you that it will be totally eradicated or changed, but a lot will be different. Children thrive, children pull energy from each other. The truth be told is, a lot of times I tend to find that parents get to this ground where that boy, I don't like that boy is bad for you, that girl is bad for you. In that child, children see nothing wrong. They see a youngster who loves them, a youngster who cares about them, and so forth. So if we can change the conversation and change the dynamics of what we do, and take time out to get to know my child friend, you have an opportunity of saving your child and saving another child and saving many other. Because one thing that is certain, sir, is that that child that you have rescued, that is the friend, though they may not be operating in a particular manner, once you get involved, your child will come to appreciate, because this is my friend. Right? So as we talk about substance abuse, it is sometimes a lack of education on the children's part, because I've seen, and they would have been told by many of their family members that grandfather used to do it and grandmother used to do it, and it made them strong, and when they were ill, this is what they boil and give them, and so they come to accept and believe. And this is not just in one household. This is something that is out there in the society, and children believe it. Parents have actually believed it. But new knowledge is now here. And we are seeing the day-to-day statistics. We are seeing the evidence. Not to mention that those children who smoke, sometimes when they buy a slip of weed or a stick of weed or whatever, it is sometimes mixed with some other substance. So we also have to, it is something that as parents, I don't know if we are not seeing it, or is it that we are the type of parents who, unless it happens to my child, then I don't believe it. So when it happens on my doorstep, then I want all the help to come about. But I believe that every case should inform us in becoming more responsible. So I trust that, parents will seek out, not just to protect their own child, but to sensitize themselves, educate, re-educate, re-socialize, and help our children as we go forward.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And for persons on the platform, please be mindful and please remember that you are able to join in this discussion. All you have to do is to indicate if you have a point or if you have a question, just indicate by using the raise hand feature, or you can type it in the chat and it will be acknowledged. All right. So continuing right along the grounds that you were on, Mr. Haney, you made a very, very vital point as it relates to parents, children, and their children's friends. It is absolutely important for you to get to know the kind of person that your child is spending time with. And, it's not enough to just say to the child, I believe that this person is bad for you. Don't stay around them. What can you do as a parent who is trying to raise your child right? What can you do to help the other child to change the direction that they are going in? And so, maybe that is now that's now a perception, that's now a direction that we can look into as parents. We can try that avenue. So rather than just helping my child, how can I help another child to go in the direction that I would want to see my child going in? You know, and Mr. Gordon, you look like you want to chip in on the discussion at this time.
All right. I was just looking at a research
Right.
that from the recommendation from the National School Survey, right? And that was way back in 2006. That prevention programs should surround peer pressure, stress, and relaxation, right? When I just want to look at the thing that when I talk to children, I try to talk about raising their self-esteem. I said, listen, you guys are all different. Yeah, embrace the uniqueness because God give you a fingerprint that nobody else have. So you're all different. Accept that. You understand? Yes. And I start to sing songs like, I am a promise, I am a possibility, and raise the vibration of these children and let them know that, hey, they need not to follow the bad examples around them. The bad examples of smoking, alcohol drinking, and thus, follow those persons who just not behaving themselves in class and so forth. So we look at ways of dealing with self-esteem and talking to them about self-esteem, and that they don't need to wear the pants all the way down at them bottom, Yeah, so we have to talk about, and they don't need to be involved with sex and all those things. Yeah, we have to talk about that, because if we don't talk about it, right, and raise the issue, then they will not learn. The DJ are going to teach them because they are talking about things, and the parents, let me hasten to say this, is that
to our question, what has been your experience with?
Yes. So can you hear me?
We're hearing you loud and clear,
Okay,
Mr.
okay. Right. So, I know that sometimes, we as parents, it is not easy for us to answer certain questions that relate to drugs, sex, and all those things. Because I know my daughter, when she was small, she asked me some questions about sex, and I tell you, I struggle. You understand? So I understand that it's not easy, but we have to talk. We have to talk about it with the children, because if they don't learn from us, they are going to learn from somebody else. Yeah, that's what I want to say. We have to read that. We have to talk about it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gordon, for that and for for that research information that you're providing us with. I believe that it is vitally important. How can persons access that information though, Mr. Gordon?
It's at the National Council on Drug Abuse. We have a library, right? Just come and call in, and I'm sure come and the librarian will assist persons with the various books and so forth, and statistics and the latest statistics we have and so forth. Just call or come in, preferably come in,
Okay.
and then we will share it with everyone.
All right, thank you so very much. I don't know if Ms. Miller wants to add anything to that before we move on.
Okay, yeah, it is important, yes, to know the friends. What I do with my 15-year-old, he's involved in sports. And sometimes you have children who are on certain substances who are also involved in sports. So what I do, I make myself visible. I become their friends. if I take water for my child, I'm taking a case of water so each child can get. We talk. When I hear them having their conversation, I butt in and pretend to be young. But but add guidance as I go along. And one thing too, sometimes the child we believe will be bad for our children or our child may not be that one who can cause harm. I was very careful about the team that my son is on. So as I said, I did all of these things to make sure I got close to them, know what they're doing, could watch my son closely. However, it was a church child, a church friend who was showing my son inappropriate pictures or sending inappropriate pictures to his phone. When I say church child, I mean a child who goes to church every day of the week and telling him about, sex and so on. So he would have been the last child I would caution him against. And my son turned to me and said, you see, mommy, you see, you're there watching my friends there, and they would never introduce and never said anything like that or sent anything like that to me. But it's the one who you say, yes, this is a person you should be friendly with. That's the one who showing me the things that you are speaking to me against or about. So we just have to also ensure that our child feels free to talk to us. I start conversation with my children from they are young. How was your day? What happened? And I laugh. And even if they are saying something that is killing me inside, I don't react to it. But I find a subtle way to deal with it without casting any form of judgment on the friend or judgment on my child. I just find a nice subtle way to deal with it and then address it maybe at a later date. But they still come back to me with some things that they tell me they don't say to other persons who they are closely related to. Because I develop a free, open conversation. I let them talk to me about every and anything. So they can come to me and say, I saw a man smoking today and I felt like doing it. I said, so why didn't you do it? And then they will tell me, and I said, very good, I am proud of you because this is what would happen had you done that or if you followed. So let your friend know that, your children know that you love them, have conversation with them. You're not gonna be their best. I tell them I'm not your friend, I'm your mother, I'm a parent, I'm not your friend. However, I will not judge you wrongfully. I will listen to you and I will guide you in love. So I'm still miserable, I still do the mother thing, but they can come to me knowing that when they are through talking, they will not feel worse off at the end of the day. So let your friends be broad brush it when you have the friends. Don't just look at one set, one big brush, and make sure that you know all of them and what they are saying to your children. Jumping into a different section, we have to understand too that some children who are doing drugs or alcohol, whatever the substance is, they have deep issues. I find that our culture is extremely abusive to young children and to the elderly, but we're looking at children today. The little children as young as 5 and even younger are being abused in so many different ways. When they get to, and it's like a cycle. I had a case where the mother was abused, the daughter was abused. Now the little child that I have is being abused. And she said, grandmother said, but it happened to me, so I don't know why my daughter is behaving like this. And the daughter don't care that it's happening to the other little child, her child. It's like a cycle. We have to find a way to break the cycle. And because of this, she's saying the grandmother is saying the daughter is irresponsible because she's doing drugs. But she had that abuse that started when she was 8, physical and sexual, that she's still living with, dealing with. still there, fresh in her head, even though she's now way into her 20s. But it was never dealt with. So substance abuse comes from the deep hurt, abuse. Parents, either they're overprotective or not protective enough. So you find a child just growing themselves, or you're too harsh on the child. These are some things as parents we have to look into to ensure that our child does not feel like they have to get a high to feel good about themselves. Call them the doctor, the lawyer, whatever they want to be, the police, the soldier, the teacher. Speak it into being. Speak positive things. Instead of saying your head big and you're ugly, like saying, you're so you're handsome. Say positive things to them so that they don't feel the need to go to something else or someone else to feel good about themselves.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Ms. Miller. And I recognize, go ahead, Mr. Gordon, go ahead.
Yeah, I had to that about speaking good things to the children, because here is a young adult, just 18 or something, and he says, sir, to tell you the truth, my mother said to me, something like, she wish me never did born, or it never come out, or something like that. I should tell you, is that, why, when we think about it, we feel not good, Yeah, another one, I remember, a couple of years ago, he said, when he remember, his mother never hugged him yet. I know him at 20 odd. But he remember that, he just feel like to do some things and just a bonus split and feel calm again. So, we have to re-socialize him, and say, hey, there are other ways, to deal with stress. Because stress is a big important. Now, what I'm that one of our protective factors, students who reported that their parents knew their whereabouts after school and on weekends, knew the type of TV shows they watch, ate meals together, and knew their close friends well, reported significantly lower drug use, right? So we have to get involved with the children, do things with them, talk to them about drugs, sex, and everything they want to know.
That's right. And what you're doing now, Mr. Gordon, is, you are basically concurring with Ms. Miller, and I want to add to it too. Building that relationship with your children makes a great difference in how they behave. One of the things that parents need to do in having the conversation with their children is giving them expectations. When you give your children expectations, listen, this is what I expect of you. This is what I do not expect of you. And you hold them to that standard. Not only are you going to give them the expectations, but guess what? They should also have expectations of you. When you do this, expect this from me. When you don't do this, this is what you should expect. And then what we need to do is we need to be consistent with those expectations. So when we give them an expectation that we expect them to be at a certain level or to make certain decisions, whenever they don't do it, whatever the consequence is, we have to be consistent with it. So, it's getting to know the children, helping them to know their expectations. And also you have to let them know their responsibilities, not just in the home, but responsibilities about themselves, responsibilities for themselves and for their future, the things that they are responsible for, the things that they have direct control over within their own lives, and help them to become better decision makers. So as parents, we need to have that kind of dialogue with them. We need to build that kind of relationship, that kind of platform for discussion where it's not just about the chores and the schoolwork. We have to be more open with our conversation, you know? So those are just some things that I just want to add to what has already been said for us as parents. Now, there is something in the chat that someone indicated. Miss Janice Yates says, where possible, get to know the parent of your child's friends as well. Because the reality is that, listen, whatever influence these parents have on their children, they are likely going to try to influence your child in the same way. So it is very important. Helping the child to develop life skills such as decision-making, assertiveness skills, use role plays, scenarios, storytelling, real life experience to teach and to help children. And I know for a fact that that helps, because when I was growing up, my mother used to share a host of life experiences with us as children. And, you know, they taught us lessons. They helped us to see things from a different perspective. And what it taught us too is that, look here, your mother not just tell you something because she named mother and she wants to tell you what to do. But a lot of times they have gone through, they have experienced what it is that we are currently going through. And they would have lived it already, and their experience provides wisdom to help us in going through the same thing. And so, you know, it is important for us to have these kinds of discussions with our young people as time goes by. And that will definitely help them to, you know, develop better decision-making skills and help them to divert from harmful behavior.
Papa Fennell,
Go ahead, Mr. Henny.
not to belabor the point, two things just popped in my thought and I want to just quickly share them.
Sure.
There is a concept by the adverse childhood experience. So the life of our children, the life of any child, they would have gone through situations from different stages of their development. And it also informs that as our children move on into adulthood, if not addressed, then we can understand the type of adult and the life of that youngster. And so in our culture today, and this has been happening because as a youngster, I used to hear that, you know, when you drink, when you burn a spliff, you don't remember the problem. So it seems that this is one of the cultural things that has been promoting, and our children have come to buy into this. You know, we tend to find that as they go through situations, they smoke, they drink. And this is things that parents, I like the fact that Ms. Yates mentioned, because it's also something that we have seen in our organization. When you sit with a parent to talk, you know, because we believe that as parents, if we don't talk to our children, they won't understand. A lot of our children tell you they never saw their parent even laugh, or they never see their parents play, they never see their parents do some basic things that as children, you know. And so it is important to have the conversation, because oftentimes parents would have experienced some of these situations. What better person to say, you know, as a parent, I have gone through this. I'm not telling you anything that is far-fetched. This is what my adolescent year was like. I wanted to accomplish some stuff, but sometimes you find a disconnect where we're adults, we just came to this stage. We just grow up and big. We just get to this adult stage and we don't talk about the challenges that we had, to have our children have a connection and to recognize that, yes, you know, mom said she went through this, or dad said he went through this, you know, some hurtful, some painful situations. And so you use that as a way to help your children to recognize that, you know, I could have achieved much. I did not, however. And so sometimes we have to pull. And again, I will say age appropriate. Sometimes we have to go and we have to modify the story, because it is still hurting. you know, and how we share the information. So we don't want to come from a position of, you know, quarrel. Sometimes when we have conversations, this is one of the things I have also recognized with our parents. They don't have conversation. They quarrel. Youngsters hate that. They love structure. Children believe in structure. We just don't understand that. And so we go for the kill. So it becomes a quarrel. And so they don't want to hear the quarrel. So they, you know, another thing too, parents don't understand that children are stressed. They don't believe that children should be stressed, but general, just their life situation sometimes. And we could talk about life situations in school, home, church, community, general. It does stress them. You know, things that they are going through, they can't tell persons, things they're experiencing, and it hurts. And so they try to find a way out, not trying to defend, but this is just a reality. And this is the way they feel they can deal with their situation. Sir spoke earlier about the trust, the lack of trust. Critical. We have a culture where Jamaican men and boys are not taught to speak. We ridicule them. And so what they do, they take the bottle, they take the spliff, and they keep everything within. We want to start having conversation with our boys. I trust that fathers will see their role as an awesome role.
That's right.
Talk to their boys. You know, mothers, talk to your girls. Talk to your family, talk to your children, because the potential that they have is huge. But sometimes we cripple that. We take that away from them. Sometimes it's out of fear too for the parents. The parents are afraid. They are not sure how to have the conversation.
That's true.
But help is available, and I continue to say to my parent, whoever you feel comfortable with, your guidance counselor, your teacher, your pastor, us at CPF, find somebody that can help you to help that child. There's no shame in it. The shame for me is where we fail, because another generation stepped into the similar mold and it continues to perpetuate.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Haney. And you know, as you were speaking there, one of the things that came to my mind is the fact that, you know, a lot of our children are going through identity crisis. You know, they are going through identity crisis once they get to that stage of puberty, where they begin to try to find where they fit into in society. And with all the different factors and facets that are pushing information at them and trying to guide them into one direction versus another, you find that without proper guidance and without, you know, the right kind of information to counter the disinformation and the misinformation that they are being fed, what you find is that they find themselves in a crisis where they're confused. And in trying to deal with that confusion, one of the avenues that they turn to is the substances. And I think that's one of the things that popped at me when you spoke about, you know, children believing that children shouldn't be stressed. Puberty in and of itself can be stressful. The changes that their body is going through, the hormone changes, all of those things can create stress on them that they sometimes don't know how to deal with, and they don't know how to have the conversation and to ask the right questions to get the necessary help that they need. And so therefore, sometimes the only way out or the only way to take their minds off of what's happening is to turn to a substance, you know? So that is something that we also have to be mindful of. Mr. Gordon, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, it's, you know, the thing is that I remember, you know, when my daughter was in the teenage years, you know, I used to get a lot of lectures from her, you know. I'm old and my ways are, You know, and I remember one time I laid down the rule where she should not go to bed with the phone. She should leave the phone on the table and go to her bed. You know, the next morning I see she passed me and she not under her breath, stupid rules. You know, yeah. But we have to try, and because you know a lot of things happen, they don't sleep when they're on the phone right through the night. And when they go to class, they are sleeping, right? You know, a lot of bullying and all these things take place on the phone during the night. So, you know, we said, you know what, leave the phone on the table. Right? But now, you know, I say I used to get a lot of lectures, and now she, you know, started working. I'm getting a lot of hugs now. So apparently something started clicking where she see I was right. You know, so parents don't feel frustrated, you know, that they're not listening. They are listening. They are listening, right? And it will kick in later on in life what you have been, you know, saying to them and trying to teach them. I remember before, you know, before my mother died, you know, mom and I had a disagreement in the car, and we are, you know, talk about it. And all of a sudden, she was in the back sitting down, and then she decided to come in and say, Mom, sometimes that is right too, you know, Mom. Sometimes that is right. I mean, turn and look on her because I pay a lecture me used to get from her. So they are listening. They are listening, you know. So don't give up hope, you know. They're going through a period, as I said, the puberty period, you know, they become rebellious. They're trying to find out who they are, and they want respect and they want to be listened to, you know. So it's not an easy period time for them, right? And, you know, as I say, each child is different. So we can't go and say blanket, say, if it works for this one, it's going to work for that one. You know, we have to find that balance for each child, you know. So parents, I know, you know, parenting is not an easy stuff, you know, not easy. But we learning some things as we go along, right? We're learning and fun after them. I said parenting is like flying a kite. You don't just haul in all the while like that. You have to let out. You have to make them feel like them win sometimes too. And when it gets serious, you have to draw them up too. I understand. But you know, so it's a you know, it's like flying a kite, you know. You have to let out sometime, and you have to wind them in back sometime, you know. So it's not easy. So that's what I wanted to say. You know?
Thank you, Sir Gordon. You know, a lot of good information, you know, valuable information being shared here this evening from our panelists to you, and even from some of you persons on the platform. And, you know, we're coming down to the close of our program for this evening, but there's a question that I want to ask because I believe it's absolutely important for us to understand. What are some of the long-term effects of substance abuse on our children? And I want to start with you, Ms. Miller, and then we can go to Mr. Gordon and then Mr. Haney. What are some of the long-term effects that can come from children abusing substances?
Brain damage. Physically, you can become deformed, right? These are just two that pops out at me right now. Also, long-term effect. I don't know if you watch a presentation on TVJ. I almost said JBC and give away my age. On TVJ. I watched a presentation on TVJ where they were interviewing a popular, one of those persons who did a popular, one of the, they call it, festival songs. And he was on Molly. So he destroyed his life completely because of drug abuse. So it didn't just, when you looked at him, his physical feature changed for the worse, of course. He had no teeth or a little teeth in his mouth. The face was sunken. He wasn't reasoning to me, he wasn't being rational. And he pretty much wasted his life. So he didn't have house, which I thought, being someone with his status, he should have had. Friends, family, everybody deserted them. So these are just some of the long-term effects that I can think of happens to persons who abuse substance.
Right, thank you. Mr. Gordon, you want to add something to that? All right, all right, he's now on.
Yeah. So, long-term drug use, there are so many, One, they can, a person can die. Drug overdose, NLT, person can die. Too much alcohol in the body can kill a person also, right? Yeah, the alcohol poison the brain, right? It can cause loss of family. Yeah, I know a alcoholic. Well, I tell you, the family had to move out, left him, and then he started to sell everything, right? So it causes especially for the children, right? Mental illness can develop, right? In fact, I want to say to them that ganja interferes with the short-term memory. So the thing is, when the teacher says certain things to them, it doesn't get transferred to the long-term memory because the short-term memory is impaired, right? And drug use affects that, right? There are so many things like, I know the males especially would like to hear, don't want to hear this, that drug use or smoking affects their sperm count. So there's not enough sperms in the fluid to get the woman pregnant. So it's not necessarily the woman's fault why she can't get pregnant. It can be the man's fault also, right? It causes, cancer of the throat, cancer of the mouth, cancer of the liver, the lungs, becomes affected, osteoporosis, right? And it just dismantle family life, right? So please, I'm asking persons that the National Council on Drug Abuse is here to help, right? Call us. Yeah, we have helped many persons over the years, right? Please call us, and the number again is 926-9002-4, and we will deal with it in the strictest confidential manner. Okay? Right.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Gordon. Mr. Haney.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
All right, so some of the long-term effects that I have here. One, it causes individuals to be ostracized from their family, from their community, their familiar space. They tend sometimes to go into stealing to maintain the lifestyle. Sometimes they are even abused and even to the extreme of being killed. So talk about the loss of memory, talk about the inability to maintain their manhood. Yes, and of course, as they talk about Jamaican men love, say you must have enough gal in a bungle, and they believe that they must continue have more children and procreate and all these things. Of course, we talk about the lifestyle issues, the cancers and so forth. One of the things I've seen is where these persons become homeless. So homelessness is one of the major factors for them. The family tend to turn them out. Yes, and so they're on the street bouncing from here, there, and everywhere. And if not helped in a real way, instead of progressing, they regress, they continue to deteriorate over time. And one of the things that is sad for me is that a lot of these persons that you tend to see are children who get into the misuse of drug and so forth. These are youngsters with great potential that is cut short. So we'd have mentioned the broken relationships, right? The inability to maintain stable family life, employment, even getting a job because of the irritability and all the other defects. They are not able to maintain a stable job. Also, they sometimes end up with criminal record, which have another can of worm to that. And just general regressing, because for us in Jamaica, we tend to see mental illness as being mad. It is something that we don't accept and appreciate that help is available and persons can live productive lives, and so if you don't have willing and capable individual who really believe, and I don't think it's because persons don't care, sometimes they do try, but the individual, because of the challenges they're experiencing, it's not an overnight turn, the turnaround is not by the clip of a finger. Sometimes the truth is they really want to change, but the will is not there, and so they do need support. The long term too is that sadden we don't have enough institutions, especially for children.
That's true.
And I dare to say for females. At least there's Patricia House for the adult male. So those are some other things.
Thank you so much, Mr. Haney. And I'm happy that in that list of things that came from all of you, the whole point of imprisonment or getting a criminal record came up. Because the reality is that in order to support the lifestyle of substance abuse, when a person loses their job and loses their family, when they have no job that is providing a living for them, they must find a way to sustain that lifestyle of substance abuse. And as you indicated, Mr. Haney, in many times they turn to stealing. But I'm going to add this as well, that they also turn to prostitution. You understand? Women sell their bodies to get the money that they need to satisfy their drug usage. Men sell their bodies to satisfy their drug usage. Not only that, they sometimes become drug mules as well. So they know, in an effort to get paid, they start to push the same drugs that they're taking on other people. So they now become mules or pushers of the drugs. So they are now providing it to other persons just as much as they are using it, because they have to maintain that lifestyle. They have to maintain that addiction. And so, human trafficking becomes another issue that we have to look at. There are many parents who put out their children in an effort to get the money that they need to maintain that lifestyle. And so, I am happy that these are all long-term effects that can come from drug usage. And as we see, it's not just about the user. It's not just the user that is affected, but persons that are associated with them, persons who are intimately involved in their lives become affected. Families become destroyed. And so it is important for us to talk about these issues, And when I believe, I don't know the statistics, but I do believe that there was a study that was done that showed that for many young people who start using drugs, it usually continues into adulthood. And so if we don't try to bridge that gap now and try to stop that cycle now, then what we're going to end up with is a society of drug users for the future. And that is important for us to note. Ms. Yates, I see your hand. You can go ahead, unmute, and make your point.
Very pleasant evening to you, sir, and to
Good evening to you as well.
on the platform. I just want to share an experience working with the children. I remember we had a youngster who one day, we were in session and he came and after session, I was like, how is it you're so quiet? And he opened his mouth. He said, Miss, looking at my throat. My throat feels dry, me hungry, miss. I said, what happened? He said, somebody else gave him marijuana to smoke. And, I tried to stem that, because as we say, the influence of the peer is very strong. I contacted the mother and, tried to refer this child, and we didn't have the cooperation. Unfortunately, because the child was moving into high school, I remember seeing the child and he was, just so crazy. He was just walking in the rain barefooted. And, I remember him coming back to the school. And when I saw him, the tears came down my eyes. He was mad, and it is really, drug abuse is really a serious issue. When you see a child age 15 or, 14, 15 going crazy, then, it's really something that breaks, our hearts. And we really, in addition to the other, long-term effects that drug can have on our youths, not just our youths, but have on the individual, we really, it's really a serious issue that all of us need to, put hands and heart together to address. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that contribution, Ms. Yates. And, you are absolutely correct that, drug usage is something, when we see how it affects our young people, it really does break our hearts. And, I can speak personally too, that there are young men that I went to school with, and today they are literally eating out of garbage bins because of drug usage, early drug usage. When we were going to school, they were engaged in smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol, etc. And I can tell you that to date, many, and they were not mentally ill prior to using drugs. And, I don't know if medically their mental condition has been associated with the drug usage, but from our experience, I believe that contributed to their current situation. And so, we have to really talk about it, not just with our own children, but with other children out there. We have to share the information as much as possible if we intend to save our society and to save our young people. I want to bring attention to a message in the chat, and it is also it's again from Ms. Yates. It says, additionally, we should practice speaking with rather than to. Conversations ought to be horizontal, meaning, two persons on the same level having a conversation, and they should be more engaging. When you speak to, it is more vertical, or somebody being above somebody else, one person being higher than the other. So, you may not have the engaging conversation and they will say yes or no to your statements, but really and truly, they might not actually get what you're saying. So, when you're speaking to somebody, it's like, hey, you have to listen to what I am saying, but the conversation is not cross. So you don't get to ask the questions and to get the real clarity that you want. And that is why it is important for us to talk with persons rather than to persons. All right. Mr. Omar Miller was indicating that some long-term brain neurodevelopmental and neuroprocessing is impacted greatly, and they also trigger genetic conditions, and these are important because one of the things that has been highlighted over the years is that for persons, we know that mental illness can be genetic. There are some conditions that can exist within families, and so persons will have a trait. But once they start using a substance, that substance now becomes a trigger. And then that whatever trait they had becomes active in their lives. And so, persons who suffer from schizophrenia, psychosis, bipolar disorder, and these things can be triggered by substance abuse. So it can be that, this exists, the trait of this exists within their family, but it wasn't affecting them before. But then as soon as they start using the substances, then we start to see these mental illnesses becoming active in their lives. And so it is important for us to make note of these. So Miss Francine Davidson Miller, Mr. David Gordon, and Miss Jean Duheny, members of my panel, I want to say to you a big thank you for coming on tonight and for sharing with persons on our platform or viewers on here tonight. I want to say thank you all for joining us here on the family empowerment discussion, because without you, this would not be possible. And please be reminded that this program is to educate the family. So please feel free to share the link when you get it with as many persons as possible. Please feel free to share the YouTube link with as many persons as possible. Whoever was not able to be a part of the discussion tonight, they can still benefit by going on YouTube and watching the video of this discussion, and they can get information that can be useful for not just them, but for other persons as well. I want to ask you, Mr. Gordon and Mr. Haney, just go ahead in the chat quickly and just type some contact information for CPFSA as well as the National Council on Drug Abuse, so that persons can actually be able to get in touch with you in case they need to. And I just want to say to you all once again, a big thank you on behalf of the St. Catherine North branch and on behalf of the St. Catherine North Community Safety and Security branch. And I am your host once again, Corporal Kester Fennell, and thank you all for joining us tonight, and do have yourselves a great evening.
If a child lives with criticism, he learns to condemn. If a child lives with hostility, he learns to fight. If a child lives with ridicule, he learns to be shy. If a child lives with shame, he learns to feel guilty. If a child lives with tolerance, he learns to be patient. If a child lives with encouragement, he learns confidence. If a child lives with praise, he learns to appreciate. If a child lives with fairness, he learns justice. If a child lives with security, he learns to have faith. If a child lives with approval, he learns to like himself. If a child lives with acceptance and friendship, he learns to find love in the world.
Children learn what they live. Children live what they learn. Teach them to wake the love in their hearts, and they will find love in the world. Children learn what they live. Children live what they learn. Teach them to wake the love in their hearts, and they will find love in the world. Children learn what they live. Children live what they learn. Teach them to wake the love in their hearts, and they will find love in the world. Children learn what they live. Children live what they learn.
There's two things I know for sure. She was sent here from heaven, and she's daddy's little girl. As I drop to my knees by her bed at night, she talks to Jesus, and I close my eyes, and I thank God for all of the joy in my life. Oh, but most of all, for butterfly kisses after bedtime prayer, sticking little white flowers all up in her hair. Walk beside the pony, daddy, it's my first ride. I know the cake looks funny, daddy, but I sure tried. Oh, with all that I've done wrong, I must have done something right to deserve a hug every morning and butterfly kisses at night. Sweet 16 today, she's looking like her mama a little more every day. One part woman, the other part girl. To perfume and makeup, from ribbons and curls, trying her wings out in a great big world. But I remember butterfly kisses after bedtime prayer, sticking little white flowers all up in her hair. You know how much I love you, daddy, but if you don't mind, I'm only gonna kiss you on the cheek this time. Oh, with all that I've done wrong, I must have done something right to deserve her love every morning and butterfly kisses at night. All the precious time, oh, like the wind the years go by. Precious butterfly, spread your wings and fly. She'll change her name today. She'll make a promise and I'll give her away. Standing in the bride room, just staring at her. She asked me what I'm thinking, and I said I'm not sure. I just feel like I'm losing my baby girl. And she leaned over, gave me butterfly kisses with her mama there, sticking little white flowers all up in her hair. Walk me down the aisle, Daddy, it's just about time. Does my wedding gown look pretty, Daddy? Daddy, don't cry. Oh, with all that I've done wrong, I must have done something right to deserve her love every morning and butterfly kisses. I couldn't ask God for more. Man, this is what love is. I know I've got to let her go, but I'll always remember every hug in the morning and butterfly kisses